We have to raise our children with good manners. We have to raise our children to be patient when they're young. Where do we get this from? If we do like the non-Muslims around us say, let the children scream it out and ignore them, then they develop the habit of screaming and wailing at the time of displeasure. And they're not taught to curtail that and to get control of that. They're taught to release. So you'll find a child having a tantrum, screaming and kicking in a public place, and the parent says, oh, just let him act it out, because the psychologists have told him that it's important for a child to release the negative energy of, frustration and anger. And if you get in the way, like you're going to put a lid on top of a pot that's boiling, and you're going to make the child explode or something, we don't go for that psychology. We say we teach our children to behave properly. If they're screaming, we remind them, get a hold of yourself. Control yourself. Lower your voice. I understand you're upset. You have a right to be upset. Your brother took something from you without right. I understand that. Just be quiet. Say, La hawla wa la quwwata illa billah. We remind them to make dhikr, to ask Allah for assistance, to seek help from Allah Ta'ala, and not to just let it loose, just screaming. And that's as early as they can understand direction and education. At the age of 2, 3, 4 years old, they shouldn't be running around the house screaming for every single thing they want, unless they've been raised to do that. Rather, when they scream, you could say, I'm not going to give that to you until you calm down and ask for it politely. I mean, from age 2, as long as they can speak and understand. They want that bottle of milk, and they're screaming and hitting you on the legs for the bottle of milk. You say, if you calm down and sit over there, I'll give you this bottle of milk. And you teach them to get control of themselves at age 2. Why not? We'll pause to listen to the adhan. Insha'Allah. So in summary, taking this lesson from the world of the angels all the way to a bottle of milk and a screaming child somehow, we would like that we raise our children, as soon as they're able to understand, being requested to develop their character and to gain control of themselves. And children at 2 can be taught to request something in a peaceful and calm way, and from there, the manners are instilled in them, and they're taught the peaceful behavior of a true Muslim, and you'll find their character to be refined and very good character. So don't let them scream for every little thing. The after effects, or how does this connect to the person being punished in his grave because the people are screaming? Because if your child screams for everything, he's hungry, he starts screaming. He's thirsty, he starts screaming. He wants a toy, he starts screaming if that's the way you allow things to be, that everything that upsets him, he screams and releases, then what do you think he's going to be like when he loses a parent? A real calamity faces him. If he's already, falling apart and being allowed to literally fall apart into tears over any little thing that upsets him, and he's not being taught to refrain from such behavior and to try to get a hold of himself, he's not being taught these matters, then what will he do when real calamities come? Real death, real family member being lost, and so on. His mother dies, his father dies. How will he behave? If he's been raised to release whenever he has any frustration or pain or problem or difficulty that he doesn't know how to resolve, he's been raised to release, scream and act out. Right? Rather we say no, we don't raise our children in accordance to Western psychology. We raise our children in accordance to Islamic character and what makes Allah Ta'ala happy with His servants. We try our best. And we're patient with them. When the 3-year-old insists on screaming and crying that he's not ready to go to bed and you want him to go to bed, we're patient with our young children. Of course, we're patient. But we're not going to encourage that kind of behavior. That's all. We're not teaching and encouraging or reinforcing screaming and acting out when a person wants something, even a 3-year-old child. We want to enforce patience, and we want to reward patience and good character, requesting something politely and so on. When we reinforce that, this is called tarbiyah. This is called raising children. Versus just letting them act out, as the psychologists say, that's called children raising themselves. That's not called raising children. Subhanallah. How advanced these psychologists and Western academics claim to be, and how much they take us back away from progress. Older brothers here, they know. When they were children, the switch, the stick, parents would physically discipline them for bad behavior. And it's almost universal. As you come into adulthood after an upbringing like this, you are very attached to your parents. You love your parents. You respect them. They haven't turned you away from them by physical discipline. The opposite. You appreciate that they kept you in line. You appreciate they helped you refine your character. You say, I am who I am today because my mother kept after me. She didn't allow me to develop the character of a fool. She expected better from me. So as a man, you say, I love my mother and I respect my mother. Now what do these young men say? I hate my mother. While she's been following the advice of psychologists his whole life, raising him to give him his freedom and let him act things out and not interfere, and don't ever strike a child. Striking a child, even just whooping the butt in a way that doesn't break a bone, tear skin, leave a bruise, anything like that, in a way that just shows that's unacceptable. That which is known to human beings all around the world. These Western people are saying, what? This is harmful and destructive to the upbringing of a child. What does it lead to? Grown adults who say, I can't wait to get away from my parents' house. I will never see these people again. And we've seen now a rate of breaking off ties from the parents, unlike has ever been seen in the history of mankind, where now it's expected you turn 18, you leave, and you don't bother your parents, you don't visit them, and you have no need for them. And in fact, you're annoyed by that. And perhaps the worst people that you could be around are your parents. It's the result of this, letting the children raise themselves, letting them discover who they are, letting them turn into whatever the randomness of being left to play about and behave as they wish for their entire childhood, being raised by other people in schools and all of that, and the parents never enforcing anything, interacting in a way that has any meaningful relationship in it. As a result, they have no love for their parents, they have no respect for their parents. And this is witnessed by people all across America, all in the Western world, not specific to any culture, not specific to any group or any time, but now it's universal across the board. The people who follow this Western psychology, as advanced as it may seem, and as advanced as the vocabulary is in it, and how widely respected it is by professionals, and the people who endorse it are the most advanced and recognized Western scientists and doctors and so on. Look what it's doing to the family structure. It's absolutely destroying the family structure.